Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of Beyond Boundaries, where we take sports beyond the boundaries. Um, I am your first host, Donovan Smith. The second host is Brevin Hooks. Say hi for the people.
Welcome, everyone.
And for this first episode, with it being 3 days before the draft, we just wanted to get a little mock draft in of what we think is going to happen, or um, what what we hope to happen, I guess, for our teams at least. I know Brevin's not excited to see his team draft.
No, definitely not. We
So
all know it's a disappointment.
we're gonna alternate picks. He got the luck of the odds. I got the evens, so he gets the easiest pick of them all. I don't think you can mess this one up.
All right, with the number one pick in the draft, we're going Caleb Williams from USC.
Yeah, I think that one's a pretty obvious no-brainer. I don't think at this point, if you don't think
Too many
Caleb's
brains
going
on that
one, you're
one.
just in denial. So with number two, there's been a lot of talk between the two quarterbacks, Drake May and Jaden Daniels. Um, yeah, I know Dan Quinn said that he needs to find his Matt Ryan, so everyone's like he's talking about Drake May, but I just think Jaden Daniels is their guy over Drake May. They need someone to start now. They don't have time or an option really. They don't have another quarterback to let Drake May sit, and I think that's what Drake May needs to be the best. So with two, I take Jaden, and the Patriots are on the clock.
Well, you made this decision very easy. I'm going to go Drake May at number three. There's been a lot of talk about some trades from number three, but at the end of the day, I think the Patriots are going to stick with what they've been saying all offseason and get their quarterback.
With the fourth, with the Cardinals, it's pretty much in the air. Will the Cardinals move back? Will the Chargers move back? Who's gonna come get it? Um, there's reports that the Giants and the Vikings have been calling New England for pick number three. So I'm assuming those same two teams have been calling the Cardinals and the Chargers trying to move up. Um, I don't. The Giants must not feel comfortable completely with Daniel Jones, and they're trying to get to someone like Drake May or JJ before the Vikings. I just don't see them having the same resources that the Vikings have, so I think they're going to kind of be stuck. And I don't think the Cardinals move. The Cardinals need weapons with Kyler. You can't ignore the fact, and I don't think you pass on Marvin Harrison. I mean, I think he's going to be that guy. So with the fourth, Cardinals pick Marvin.
All right, this is the point in the draft where I think things get interesting. Um, Obviously, everybody knows the Chargers' new coach is JJ McCarthy's college coach, and him being able to hold the keys to JJ's future, I think he's going to want to set him up with the brightest future, and I think that's the Minnesota Vikings coming up to trade with number five. Um, the Vikings just acquired another first round pick later in the draft, so I think they would package number 11 and 23 and probably a future first, maybe a third in there as well to get that deal done and get their franchise guy. Um, the Vikings have the best core weapons of players with Justin Jefferson, Hockenson, Addison, around that. Any cornerback that steps in there is going to have a good chance to succeed, and along with one of the better offensive minds in head coach. So I got JJ going number five to the Vikings.
I should not have skipped that update. All right. With the sixth overall pick, we talked about how there's rumors the Giants are trying to move up in this situation. I don't think it happens. So I think they need to do right by Daniel Jones at this point and last ditch effort. And I think what's going to help him the most is Malik Neighbors. He is I mean, without Marvin Harrison, he's by far the number one. So I think it's really a 1A, 1B type of thing. It's who you want. Do you want your slot? Do you want your more outside? And so I think Neighbors is going to be. I think it's a no-brainer. I don't really understand why the Giants want to move on already. There's no point. You might as well write it out. Get him a real number one weapon and see what he can do.
I really hope that doesn't happen as a Cowboys fan, but I think it sadly is going to. Um, Moving on to pick 7. I think that the Titans found their guy that they believe in at quarterback in Will Levis last year. So why don't you get a quarterback's best friend and offensive tackle? And we're going Joe Alt from Notre Dame.
The Falcons here at 8. I know Dallas Turner's kind of been locked in. That's who I'm going to stick with. Dallas Turner going here. Um, I think I think he's by far the best edge, but Falcons' new defensive coordinator was actually the coach that recruited Latu to his first school before he had to retire, medically retire before coming back and transferring to UCLA. So that could be something where, he goes back and gets the guy he really liked back in college. He goes and gets him. So and people say that he has top 10 potential. The thing holding him back is that really scary injury history. I mean, having to medically retire is no joke. So I just think it's safer just to go with Dallas Turner. But I wouldn't be surprised if Latu goes at 8. But I'm taking Dallas Turner.
All right. This pick's interesting in a lot of ways. I just don't know who the Bears are going to do here. It sounds like they want to trade back, get some more picks to be able to fill some more holes in their team. So, and there's also a receiver, one of the top 3 receivers still on the board. So I think someone wants to come up and get him right in front of the Giants, right in front of the Chargers, those teams that might need that receiver. So I think I'm going to, you know what? Why not make a trade? Let's have the Indianapolis Colts coming up to get a weapon in their guy, Rome Odunze. The Bears add future picks, more picks they can fill holes in the future and later in this draft as well. And I still believe they're going to get their guy at the pick with the Colts as well.
These trade details are just to make the computer accept it. Like the Vikings, the Vikings are going to have to give up 11 and 23 to move up. That's a fact. And the only way they move down with the Colts is if the Colts swap picks plus something. So that plus something, I mean, that's for them to decide. That's why they get paid millions, and I do not. Rome Odunze at 9.
I think Romo would be a great pick to add to your quarterback. Maybe he doesn't run as much next year and get hurt as much.
The Jets, there's been talks about them going Brock Bowers. I mean, he's an amazing prospect. I could understand why you would want him, but I mean, you've kind of gone all in at this point. I mean, Salah's kind of at the end of his leash. Aaron Rodgers, you don't know how much longer you have of him. I mean, you barely got him already. So I think you have to keep him upright, even though it was non-contact. I mean, you can't risk anything at this point. The Jets have to go all in. And as cool as Brock Bowers would be, I think you need to protect him. And my number 1 tackle that I want to protect him with is Fuega from Oregon State. I think he's the best tackle prospect, and I think he has a higher ceiling than anyone other than Joe Alt at this point on the board. So that's who I would take the Jets, or that Penn State guy is also a good option.
I agree with that pick. The Jets signed some older tackles. I know they signed Tyron Smith. I think they signed another older tackle, didn't they?
Yes.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
I'm thinking Morgan Moses.
Yep, Moses, yep. So you really can't rely on them two being healthy the whole year. So getting a tackle for the future and someone that can step in if someone sits a couple games would be very valuable.
Yeah.
All right, we're at pick 11. That is the Chargers pick. And I think if this played out where the Chargers traded back and got multiple first round picks and got the guy that Jim Harbaugh would just be licking his chops, I don't know what he'd do with himself in that RV later. I'm going to have to go Brock Bowers at number 11. We all know he wants to run that ball, and a tight end is the best friend in Jim Harbaugh's offense.
With 12, with the news today of Zach Wilson, this one could be interesting because my original thought was I had Bo Nix kind of stapled in at this spot. I thought it was kind of a shoe in, the Sean Payton wants his guy. I kind of thought Bo Nix would be that guy, be that Drew Brees replacement for Sean Payton. So I had it stenciled in that 12 was going to be Bo Nix. The Zach Wilson makes it interesting because I don't think you go get Zach Wilson and then use the 12th pick on a quarterback and then make a battle. It seems very awkward, and that doesn't really seem like Sean Payton's MO. He's I'm making this decision and I'm going with it. He doesn't seem to be like a wishy-washy guy. So it could be someone else. They have a lot of needs, right? They need defense. They could use maybe a more consistent weapon with Jerry Jeudy leaving. So for this, I'm gonna switch from Bo Nix. I think they take a corner. I don't think they reach. I could see a Brian Thomas here, but I just think they go with the best available. And it seems like for NFL teams, that's Quinyon Mitchell. Personally, I think that Nate Wiggins will end up being the best corner in this draft from Clemson. But I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to be a good corner as well. So that's who I'm having them pick.
All right. So we're up at the Raiders pick. The way the board's falling, there's a couple different options that you could go here. You could go corner and the Alabama guy, or you could go offensive tackle with not even going to say his name, but the guy from Penn State. I think they want to shore up their offense for when they do figure out that quarterback position, and I'm going to have them take offensive tackle from Penn State.
All right. The Saints, oh boy, the Saints are in an interesting position. I think their team is kind of busting at the seams, and they just need what's there, right? They just are going to take what's best available at this situation. In my first mock draft, I had them taking Brock Bowers, right? I think if the Bears don't move, I think Rome Odunze might fall. So then that makes Brock Bowers fall. And that's what I had. If that's not the case, and this is how the board shapes out, I think they have to get one of these edges. Either Latu or Jared Verse. It's a hard pick. I think it'll personally be whoever they feel most comfortable with. With Latu's injury history, I just think maybe they feel more comfortable with Jared Verse, so that's who I'm going to have them pick. Cameron Jordan's getting older. They don't really have very many staple pieces on defense at this point. For the future, at least, they have some good players, but I think the Saints need to start looking future more than now.
All right, so we got the Chicago back up at 15. First overall, we obviously had Chicago going with Caleb. Before the Keenan Allen thing, I would have guaranteed Chicago to take a receiver in one of these spots. And Brian Thomas looks really spicy, but after that Keenan Allen deal, I really don't think they need a receiver. I think their offensive line is very much so improved. So I think they're going to go defensive here. And you could argue the guy from Texas but I'm going to go with Latu, putting him next to the defensive end they just traded for this last season. I think that could be a good pairing for Chicago.
Yeah. Like I said, Latu. They said he's top 10 talent wise, just that injury history, and then just how stacked the offensive side of this draft is. He's going to fall. The Jared Verses of the world, these corners are going to fall just because of the way the draft is going to work out. But in terms of player, I think he's a steal. Whatever team ends up getting him, he's going to be a beast as long as he can stay on the field.
And he could fall all the way to Miami at 21. He could fall. It just depends, really.
Yep. It just depends on how offensive heavy these teams are going to get before they just make the decision of he's too good of a prospect to keep falling.
These are trades happen. There's so many spots where trade is just screaming trade.
Yep. At 10, I have the Seahawks going offensive line. Their offensive tackles, it says it's a need. I feel like they've shored up that position really well. I think that the Washington tackle, he can slide into guard for them. I think that's where they have a little bit more of a need. I think he can slide in, or he can play that tackle if their tackles don't work out. I think he's really a really good swing option in terms of what's on the board for them. Byron Murphy being here, I think that could be an option. With the defensive coach coming in, I think he could want to get that centerpiece for his defense, so I could definitely see that. But I just think they want to protect Geno. They want to run the ball. So I'm going to go with the tackle.
And I'm going to give a shout out to my good buddy Husker Nation. I think he would love Michael Penix at this pick. And that is definitely something they could go as well. But the tackle, obviously, shoring up the offensive line for the future is very smart as well. All right, we're going to go Jacksonville here. And I just think he's fallen too far. And they obviously have a need at corner. And I'm going to have them taking Teron Arnold from Alabama with the 17th pick. He's just too good to keep falling off the board, and the Jags secure up a starting corner.
So with the 18th, the Bengals, I think the Bengals are really a toss-up. I don't know what they'll do. They could get a receiver and trade T. Higgins. They say they don't want to trade T. Higgins, and when the Bengals say they don't want to do something, they're not going to do it. I mean, stingy organization. So I don't see that as a possibility. They could go Byron Murphy to replace DJ Reader, who just left. I think that they should probably go corner to shore up that corner room, right? They don't have that future number one guy across their entire defense. They like to fill holes with these, like, I don't know, I call them mercenary for hires, but these defensive guys who want to prove that they deserve the big contracts. It seems to be Cincinnati's MO. Get that guy, let him ball out, and then let him leave. So I think they would normally go corner. I had them going Teron Arnold. With him being gone, I will say that they go Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy here to replace DJ Reader, I think that's a big piece that they fill. That's a hole they fill.
All right.
Mr.'s panicking at the Lakers collapse, I see.
Yep. But we're at pick 19 with the Rams. You took my pick.
Yep, I think the 18 through 21, I think Byron Murphy goes. I think Cincinnati could take him. I think the Rams could take him. I think the Dolphins could take him. I think he's a real question mark in this draft. Who values him the most?
Absolutely. All right. So, with this pick, I think the Rams could go many different directions. Obviously, the top edge rushers are off. You still got Chop Robinson. Just don't know if they want to reach up that high for him. I love Chop Robinson, but it just depends on how much they value him. Um, I think right here would be a good pick, as Donovan referred to him earlier, shoring up another corner for the Rams. And that would be Clemson's cornerback Nate Wiggins. I think would be a great pick for them. Shore up another starting corner, starting level corner, lockdown corner on that opposite side for the future.
With Pittsburgh, I think they might be one of these easiest late round picks, honestly. They need a center, and people talk about Jackson Powers Johnson like he is going to be the next great center. So I think if he's there, I don't think Pittsburgh thinks twice. It just seems like the move that they need to make at this point. They've went and maybe fixed their quarterback position. They've done everything else. Their defense is fine. I think you shore up that offensive line at the weakest spot with one of the best prospects, people are saying, and get Powers Johnson there.
Right, Miami. I actually just seen a mock draft of Miami taking Xavier Worthy, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're playing football, not running a 4-by-1. It was just baffled me that they would, if they were able to get another speed guy like that. But um, my pick, I'm think I'm going to go offensive line. They had, is it Trent Armstead they signed last year, but he was hurt for a
Mm-hmm.
majority of the season. So I'm going to have them go offensive line here, and I'm going to have them take J.C. Latham from Alabama. It pains me to say it, but I wish he would follow the Cowboys. But yeah, I don't think we'd take him anyways.
Um, with this Eagles pick here, uh, trying to decide. I think they go corner. I think the way the secondary played last year, I think you got to go get a guy to hopefully fix it and be a staple, right? You have two aging corners that you're not really comfortable with that seem very wishy-washy. I think their guy is Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think he fits that team really well. Brevin, I know, thinks that Cooper DeJean would go there, and I could see it because I think the plus side with Cooper is he can fill wherever that secondary is really needed. Right? I think you could put him in the slot. I think you could put him outside. I think you could move him back to safety, even though people are like, oh, everyone says that because he's white, whatever. I just think he has the most all around talent at corner, and that's something Philadelphia could use because, I mean, throughout the entire season, there were parts of that secondary that was just Swiss cheese, and it was. I think either of those would go well. I think they take Kool Aid McKinstry here. They that just seems like a very Eagles player. They love the Bama, they love the Georgia players, and I think he can just like I think they want to just put him in, right? I think that Cooper DeJean, that possibility to move might be not overwhelming, but it just might be a little too much. I think you get Kool Aid, you put him where he's at, you put him outside, and you just let him ball.
All righty. We're back up with the Chargers. Um, the Chargers, you just never know. They could go offensive line, even though they don't really need offensive line. But Jim Harbaugh might not want to come out and 10 offensive linemen with just Justin Herbert. So you just never know. But I think that I just can't pass up on him right here. And obviously, it's a glaring need. Taking Brock Bowers, I don't know if he would go another uh, pass catcher, but it's just a glaring need and a player that shouldn't be on the board right now. And I'm going to take Brian Thomas from LSU.
I think Brian Thomas is going to be one that gets hurt by the standout of those top three guys. I think he's a stud, but when those top three go off the board, he's kind of that cap for the next run of wide receivers. So I think he may fall victim to teams not wanting to rip the cap off that next group. So he might fall and keep falling until finally one team just pulls the band-aid off and takes him. He's he's a great receiver, and I think he's just hurt by better receivers ahead of him. Dallas here. Oh boy, Jerry Jones. Jerry
Oh,
Jones.
Jerry, if you just go to the bottom of the board and pick the most random college, you're probably gonna uh, figure this one out. And there's a lot of players on the board that I would love right here, but we decided to do absolutely nothing in the off season, so we have zero choice but to go offensive tackle here. And I don't think we'd take a guy from Georgia, but I'm going to take Mims from Georgia.
Yep, my original thought was that J.C. Latham might fall here, and that would be the guy that Jerry would bite on if he was um doing what was right. With Mims here, I think he has no other option than to take here or to really reach and just hope for the best, which that's sometimes Jerry's MO. But maybe he breaks the cycle here. He's usually a big spender, so maybe he's turning a new leaf at the bright age of 200.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
All right, you get the Packers here. You kind of got back. I let you do your own team thing. I let you
Oh,
talk.
all right. So Green Bay, I think they figured out their quarterback situation. Obviously, it's sad to say that for me to say that after, the playoff game, but they could go Cooper DeJean. They have a glaring need at corner, but I think they sure up an interior offensive lineman with Barton from Duke. He can play center guard, both guard spots. So he's very versatile in the interior of the offensive line, and be a good pick to help Jordan Love and keep him upright.
Here at the Bucks, I think last year I think everyone was kind of surprised about how good they actually did. Um, I was kind of at that spot. I thought, I mean, being a Browns fan, I was hoping the best for Baker, but it didn't really seem bright. And that offense kind of ended up coming through by the end of the year. And I think they hope to continue that offensive firepower and success, but they need to couple that with better defense. The defense was um, it was tough to watch at some moments. So I think you just go and get your guy. I think Todd Bowles would love someone like Chop Robinson, right? I think he's looking at the Cowboys with Micah Parsons, and I think he's licking his lips hoping that Chop Robinson can be what Micah is. Um, so I think he puts him in, and I think he tries to build that defense around Chop, and hopefully it's a new and improved defense next year, because that was at some points it was ugly.
I would love Chop Robinson, the Cowboys, so much, but we have to go offensive tackle. Um, Moving on to the Cardinals, I think at some point in the end of this first round, if the board falls the way it is, someone has to come up and is going to get up and come up and get one of these quarterbacks. I don't know who. You could argue that the Lions, the Cardinals have glaring needs at every position. So, I mean, they always could add more picks. The Ravens, a lot of the 49ers easily could trade out and get some future stuff for one of these teams to come up and get this quarterback. But I'm going to stay put here with the Cardinals. And I am going to go with an offensive tackle, Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. Tyler, obviously coming off of ACL injury, you want to do everything that you can to keep him upright. You got him a receiver earlier in the draft. Now shoring up that offensive line a little bit more is going to benefit him in the long run as well.
Right here with the Bills, I mean, we all saw it this offseason. They sold the farm, but they still want to be Super Bowl contenders with Josh Allen. It was it was a really awkward offseason for the Bills. And I think it was just a situation of money and age. I think they just need to get younger, and they didn't do a great job of that. So I think this is kind of the start. And where I think they start with that is wide receiver, right? They don't have Gabe Davis. They don't have Stephon Diggs now. I think uh, there's very few people that fall here to Buffalo, and I don't think they look anywhere but wide receiver, right? So with the wide receivers on board, I do think they take Adonai Mitchell. I could see an Xavier Worthy coming up into the first round if he doesn't actually go first round. Right? He could any person that just is like speed and wants to risk it, but I think as an actual wide receiver, Adonai is a better receiver than Xavier Worthy, but that speed could make Worthy jump above him.
Detroit Lions. And if the board fell like this, I think Dan Campbell would be screaming and yelling and red in the face because Cooper DeJean has just screamed Detroit Lion. He loves his Big Ten guys, and adding another guy in Cooper DeJean, an athlete, one of the better athletes in the class. I don't know if any of you have seen his basketball highlights, but they are just insane. So adding Cooper DeJean to that Lions secondary, they drafted the dude from Alabama last year, and getting another defensive back is really going to help them make that next step and maybe not give up a 20-point lead to make the Super Bowl this year.
So with the Ravens here, in my original mock draft, I had the Ravens taking Mims here. They need a tackle, but which has kind of been talked about, but there's a top 6 tackles plus like a Guyton who could probably go earlier. So I would say like a top 6, top 7, and it could easily be once if all those guys are gone. I think Baltimore could be in a situation where they have to get out of the first round, right? I mean, you could take A. Newton. He's a great D tackle. It's just not really something they need at this moment. And another team that could jump up to get one of those 7 above Baltimore, I really don't see one of these tackles getting here because of this. The Commanders have picked 36 and 40. They can easily package those to jump up and get the tackle they need to protect Dayton Daniels. You have to go get one of those 7 guys because there is a fall off at that point. So with that, I think in this situation with no tackles remaining, I think Baltimore trades out. And I think the team coming into Baltimore's spot is the Raiders. Right, the Raiders, they were the one team that needed a quarterback and haven't gotten one yet at this point. I think they gotta go get a guy. I think they gotta go get a guy, and when you get your guy, you want him in the first round so that he gets that 5th-year option, right? You can get an early second, right? Like the other place I see is the Patriots possibly trading to the Raiders so that they could get a quarterback. Not trading. Interesting. All right, well, Baltimore, this pick will just be the Raiders pick because Baltimore is trading out of the first round. With both of these guys on the board, I think they like Michael Penix better. I think Michael Penix fits the Raiders well, and I think that's a guy that Pierce loves. So, not the Baltimore Ravens, but the Raiders picking Michael Penix with pick 30.
All right. So now we are at the 49ers. There's a lot of things. The 49ers really don't have any glaring holes. Obviously, they can go offensive tackle. They could go receiver. They're one of the better rosters in the NFL, so obviously they don't have a ton of holes. And not knowing what your future is with Brandon Ayuk, they could go receiver. But I'm going to have them take offensive tackle at this pick from Arizona. They love to run the ball. They want to protect Brock Purdy. They're going to have to pay him soon. So securing up that offensive line for the future, Trent Williams isn't going to play forever. So you have to have some offensive tackle, and shoring up that offensive tackle spot opposite of him and for the future is going to be a good pick for the 49ers there.
Yep, I think the 49ers are praying that Guyton falls to them, right? That the other positions have higher value, and that, like we talked about, him being kind of that seventh tackle falls. They need a tackle. Their right tackle left. Guyton played this past season at right tackle, so I think it's like a perfect fit for them. So if they don't, I do think they either need to get out of the first round or they just need to draft Morgan. Morgan tackle is another position where you need that fifth year option to really save money and be the most productive. So if they want one of these tackles, I think they just need to pick him here. As much as I'm sure they would like to trade out, as it's kind of a reach, but I think it's just a need at this point. The Chiefs with the last pick in the first round. I'm sure everyone's seeing Xavier Worthy sitting here, and it seems like a no-brainer, right? I talked about Adonai Mitchell in my original one. I had Adonai falling to this spot, so it was kind of picking one of these Texas receivers. Xavier Worthy could be that guy because of his speed. Adonai's a better all-around receiver, but with him gone, I think it's just the fit that everyone saw, right? Everyone saw Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs. And if he doesn't jump up the board, I think he's going to fall right there. And they're trying to recreate the Legion of Zoom. That is for sure. But that is the end of our mock draft. We will be live for the first round on draft day. Anything you want to say? I think that the two linebackers, Peyton Willis and Edgerrin Cooper, are two first-round talents by far, but I just think with the offensive talent, they are going to get washed down into the second round, and then my hope is Edgerrin Cooper gets washed down to the 54th pick with the Browns. We just lost Brevin because of Zoom's rule of 40 minutes, unfortunately. That's it really in the second round. I mentioned the Commanders. Be on the lookout for them to get rid of their 2 seconds and move into the first round to secure that tackle. The Raiders going and getting Penix at 34. With the Patriots, I could see that a possibility. The Patriots need as many picks as possible. They're in a dire situation, and if you're going to take that third pick, I think you just with that second rounder, if someone calls, I think you answer. But other than that, that is the conclusion of our mock draft. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys on Thursday for the draft.